We move on to Mishnah Hey. Yosef ben Yochanan ish Yerushalayim Omer. Yosef ben Yochanan, the man of Yerushalayim, said, Yibeischa pasuach l'rvacha. Your home should be open to all. Anybody that's hungry, anybody that's tired, they should be able to come into your house without reservations. They should be able to find console. They shouldn't feel threatened when they come to the house. They should feel comfortable. They should be able to rest. They should be able to be appeased. And this is, like we say, one of the main pillars of our faith. Our father Abraham, they say his tent was open to four sides, that any wayfarer was able to come through. And when they came through, he was able to bring them close to Hashem. It's very, very interesting. They say today in the movement of bringing back lost Jewish souls to the faith, the best thing is with a piece of potato kugel. You bring him into your house, you give him some chont, you make them feel at home, they feel the warmth, and that is a way to attract people just like our father Abraham did. May poor people become members of your household. Now, that's not so simple to say. You're going to bring all the impoverished people, all the schleppers, all the beggars, and you're going to make them live in your house? I want you to know there are some Jewish people that are very holy, and they have special quarters, and they do that. They bring in wayfarers and they give them food and a bed to be able to take care of. Today we have that in the communities. Each community usually has Gemilas Chesed homes where the people that come, for instance, from Israel, poor people that come to collect for their families, they have no place to stay. So there are special homes. We have that in Lakewood. There's special homes that the community supports, that all the people that come to collect have room and board every single night for free. Okay, a hot meal and a bed to rest. But a simpler explanation is that aniyim should be b'nei beischa, they should feel at home. That when a poor person comes to your house, he shouldn't feel he's not wanted. He should feel that he is of value. A lot of holy rabbis say that when the poor people come to your home, that's really God sending them there because you need a merit. You need a schus. Perhaps you deserve a punishment of some sort or retribution for committing a sin, and God does not want to punish you. He doesn't want for you to suffer the consequences of your evil actions. So what he does is he sends you a poor person who sometimes you're not so comfortable to have around your table, and he makes you lower your ego, and you take care of that person, you make him feel like he's a member of your family. That is a tremendous kapara. It's a tremendous vindication of something that you may have done wrong. God says, you take care of mine, I will take care of yours. A person who is usually trying to do Hashem's will, Hashem does not want that person should suffer for his sins. So he helps him atone for his sins. And one of the ways that we atone is through tzedakah. That's why it says, tzedakah tatzil mimaves. Tzedakah saves a person from death. This is what we mean over here, v'yu aniyim b'nei beischa. And then there comes good advice, as you probably know, with the people that you work with, v'altar b'sicha im ha'isha. And you should not spend too much time speaking to women. Now, that can mean any woman. We also learn it to be even your wife. Be'ishta omra. That what the rabbis were saying really was referring to not to talk too much with your wife. And from that we could deduce a kal v'chomer, 100%, how much more so, be'eshas chavero, not to speak much with the wife of your friend. They say sometimes it starts with a little talk, then it starts with other things. In other words, don't become too friendly with your friend's wife, because the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, he's hard at work all the time. Therefore, we see holy Jews, they won't even hand money to a strange woman In other words, anything that has to do with something that's not your property, you should distance yourself from. And even from your wife, which is your property, you also need not overdo it. The Gemara says that after 120 years, they even ask about the idle talk that a man has with his wife. So this comes to tell us, maybe it's because the woman brought sin to the world. So you don't want to be around that situation too much, only as much as necessary. He goes on and he says to us, what is the result of it? He's not just telling you, don't talk much to women. He's telling us here, what is the after effect? So he says, Mikan Amr Chacham, from here our great rabbis deduced, Kol Zman She'adam Mar Basicha Im Ha'isha, the time that a person does speak a lot with a woman, what happens at that time? He doesn't even realize it's happening. But Goyrem Ro Ala Atzma, he causes bad onto himself. His mind becomes occupied with silly stuff. And at the same time, Abotam Adivrei Torah, he is wasting time from Torah. In other words, during the time that he is speaking to this woman, he could have been accomplishing something in his life. He could have been studying Torah. He could have been busy with holiness. And instead, what he's doing, he is busy with the opposite. And also, what happens is that when you are busy with the opposite, when your mind is occupied with the opposite, it's very, very difficult at the same time to be holy. It doesn't work. So you get drawn in. You see, we need the holiness of the Torah to protect us. And in the absence of the holiness of the Torah, you're not protected. The Talmud says, Torah is Megina Umatzla. Torah protects and guards us. The Gemara says in the tractate Sota, Be'idne da osek ba, at the time that you're osek in it, that you're involved in Torah, then matzla, you are guarded. When you're not learning Torah, or if you're not thinking about Torah, so then you expose yourself to the elements. You're unguarded. And if you're unguarded, it's no different than if you walk out into the street from your house. Right? If you're not wearing the proper attire, you catch a cold. A Jew has to be surrounded by Torah in order to be protected from the elements that surround him. So that's the Gorem Ro La'atzmo, or Botom Adivrei Torah. We have to understand that the outside environment has an effect on us. In other words, if you're not sidetracked by a woman, then you may not think about it. The Torah says, and we learned a lot out of that, we say it in Shema, V'lo Sasuru, you should not follow after levavchem, after your heart, after einechem, and after your eyes, ashatim zonim achreim, which you are zonim after them. That means that when we see and when we look, that causes certain human instincts to become inflamed, and then we get into a situation where our thoughts wander and whatever else follows after that. And therefore the Mishnah ends off, V'sofo Yorish Gehenna. At the end, because of all this talking, the Mishnah is saying he's going to come to a sin. And the sin may be sinning with himself, it may be sinning by thinking, maybe sin by worse than that. And what does the sin bring? The sin brings Gehenna. So a person has to know, for actions there are consequences. And since this is a very, very strong human instinct, therefore he was calling this out right here in the beginning, that there are certain things that are on top of the list.